All right, we are
Hey,
recording.
Kings fans, welcome to episode 4, the LA Kings Corner podcast. With me, Ryan Marvin. Today we've got Corey Marvin, Travis Chupp, and Brian Jewell. We're going to go ahead and go over a quick recap of game 4. Obviously, bummed out on the loss, but we'll discuss the game. Had some inside scoops from the game from people who were there, and then we'll do a quick recap, and we'll bring it back later for game 5 preview. All right, Core, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your thoughts on the game?
Well, I love that you're starting with the guy that's probably got the least amount of insight on this one, but I did do my homework and try to rewatch a little bit. Obviously, I was out golfing. I was at Soul Park, Ojai. And man, I tell you what, man, I couldn't have been happier getting those updates. Kings up 1-0. Kings up 2-0. Boys, 3-0 Kings. Oh man, could have been a better start. And then as my golf round was starting to decline, so was the Kings score. So it was part and parcel of my performance, like tied in with the Kings performance. Couldn't have asked for a better start, just like my golf round. And then it started to fade there. So I love that we this whole time we've been talking about let's get out early. Let's have a good start. And the Kings did just that, right? So I'm happy. I'm really happy with that. Let's hope that they find a way to find that jump on the road, like they clearly were able to do at home. Again, like you said, bummer outcome at the end there. We can get into some of the key factors that caused that. Just off the top of my head, real quick, I saw a trip by McDavid on Doughty that didn't get called and wound up right after as a goal for Edmonton,
Yep.
as well as a pretty brutal tripping call on Kevin Fiala at the end of the period. And like you guys all know, um,
You mean a body check?
oh, body
Yeah,
check,
the
yeah,
check.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Goals to start periods in the first minute and to end periods the last minute, those can be backbreakers. Having said that, the Kings did a great job and answered that in the third period and still came up short. So, they not everything's going to go your way all the time, and I think the boys are, they're focused on just playing hockey, and I think there's enough belief in that room. And I would say that the way that we lost this game would typically make me real worried, but I just think the kind of guys that are in that locker room, I don't think they're going to let it affect them. So I'll pass it off to someone else here, but overall, great start. Obviously, a disappointing finish there.
Absolutely. Hey, Travel, I'll go ahead and have you hop in here. What was the difference for you? Obviously, you were at game 3, right? So game
Yep.
3, Kings win, and then watching that game and then seeing how they started and how was. Just tell me a little bit about what you're thinking going from being there in game 3 to watching game 4.
Yeah. So the biggest difference I saw right away was Fiala. Like it was real apparent that like that as soon as he stepped out there on the ice, they're like, dude, they started making some real long breakout passes and stuff, getting in there. I thought that was a huge difference. I think that helped us out get that quick start and get those 3 quick goals. But yeah, then just like Corey said, like we had a kind of slow start, and that's what we have been doing the last 3 games.
Yep.
And then so that quick start really helped, and it kind of put you'd see Edmonton was a little on their heels, and then they kind of got back, on their feet again, in the second, third, or like towards the end of the second, the third. But yeah, that was the biggest difference I saw was just how Fiala just really like helped stretch it out, and it was good breakout plays and stuff.
Nice, absolutely. Julesy, Julesy, I know you're jumping in here and you're at the park. I don't know if we just lost your video feed, but wanted to ask you too. You were at the game yesterday. What was the energy like in the building, especially in that first period?
Gosh, the energy was absolutely electric. It was as if we were going for the cup right then. I mean, I had an Edmonton kid sitting behind me, which was great because, him and his mom, and it was just like, oh, good play. Oh no. And then there goes the goals pouring in. And just the fans up, high-fiving everybody. It was absolutely electric, and it was like you could feel the wheels coming off of Edmonton. And that was like almost the most beautiful part of it. Is it seemed like they were falling apart right in front of us,
Yeah.
kind of as the series had gone on, you notice it took the Kings longer, and it took them a long time in game one to start to get a feel for the game. And then game two, it was a little bit longer, or not quite as long, but it took a while to get in the game. Game three, not as long, and then from game four, it was like we were like, oh, we figured this out. It was like we figured out the keys to the Holy Grail, and it was going good. But then it was almost like we've seen the Kings do this against a few teams this year, and then absolutely fall apart themselves. And it was kind of like that, like unspoken thing that people were like, oh, we just hope that doesn't happen. But then it happened, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was almost like the inevitable was happening. And but it's funny because the Kings are such a resilient team. Even when they do things like that, they find ways to come back and win. Or they have a really poor showing in a game, and the next game they'll come out on fire. So I'm not super worried about it overall. But the atmosphere in the building was one of the best I'd seen at Crypto in a long time. So it was definitely started out with like, oh yeah, the Kings are back to the glory days. Obviously it didn't finish the way we all wanted to, but you can feel that energy around the team right now, that there is some good stuff coming and people are really excited about it. And I think this is just like the first step of that, really getting going on like a triumphant return. And hopefully, Blake and company can keep it going longer than Dino did. He kind of, had a little bit of loyalty issues, and the contracts got away from him. But I'm hoping Blake's a little bit more keen than that. But,
No,
yeah,
that's
fantastic.
legit, man. No, I really agree with that take on how, the place rocking, seeing Edmonton like the wheels were falling off, and it couldn't have been more apparent, the tale of two different stories, right? Period one, all LA, everything's going right. Period two, I still feel like LA was playing really well, but you knew, because of game three, the controversy with a potential high stick that didn't get called and the whining that Edmonton was doing, now the referees and the NHL feel like they have to impart their will in the game. And that to me is garbage. Edler gets called for a boat, okay, so he corkscrews him against the boards. He gets called for a penalty. Everybody knows it's coming. As soon as that power play goal gets scored against the Kings, it felt like, here we go, here it comes. And I've talked to the boys several times about my feeling on Todd McClellan when they signed him as a coach. And I've met Todd McClellan and I coached his kid. Great guy, good hockey guy, knows his shit. But here's the thing: you don't hire the coach that you do a reverse sweep on your way to the Stanley Cup. That's like the Seattle Seahawks basically hiring the kicker that missed the field goal that sent them to the freaking Super Bowl. That's the dumbest thing ever. With that being said, Todd McClellan is a great coach in the regular season. He knows how to win games, and he knows how to get his players over the duration of time to do well. My question to Todd and the Kings fans: is he the leader that can close the deal? Is he the type of guy that can get his guys to put the nail in the coffin? My answer to that right now, based on the evidence and the case studies that we have, the end values that we have, is no. I don't believe so. But if there's a chance, if there's a time to conquer those demons for him, it's right here. It's right now. It's against the Edmonton Oilers, his former team. Okay. We know that he can do it. He's won a championship in the past in the AHL, but he's never climbed the mountain in the NHL level. The thing that I saw that became clearly apparent in this game: humanity kicked in. What happens when you start getting good, like the United States of America? I don't want to get political, but we're the top of the world right now. You start getting complacent, right? Kings get up 3-0, you start getting complacent. You start taking it easy. All right. You get a couple deals, you get a couple homes that sell, and you're having a great year. So what do? You lax on your outreach, right? It's just human nature. But how do you keep the elite athletes, the competitors, to put the foot on the gas pedal, to put the foot on the throat? That's what I want to see out of the Kings. Now, I know, and we all know, that the game of hockey has changed significantly, and you can't lock it down like you used to. We're seeing these 3-0 come from behind games. We saw it in Vegas with Winnipeg. We saw it again tonight, right? So the game has changed. We understand that there's going to be ebbs and flows. And they did a great job, like Corey said, coming back in the third period and answering with a great goal from Matt Roy, which, by the way, Matt Roy's a freaking stud. I love that guy.
Yeah.
To take that and get the lead back and then basically keep that lead all the way through the third period until just over 3 minutes remaining in the game. They were literally lobbing pucks out of the zone, basically saying, let's hold on, let's hold on, let's hold on, let's hold on. I want to change that verbiage. I want to change the psychology there. And that's what a leader does behind the bench. What verbiage are you using with your players to keep the foot on the gas, right? Play smart, play strategic, stick with the game plan, but keep going forward. Hold on. Don't take penalties. Stay out of the box. Those are all negative connotations that do not lead to you taking action towards your best self. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. There is no neutral. There is no hold on. The way that the Kings ended that game was they were holding on. They were looking to see if we could hold on, get an empty net, boom, maybe pop one and get an empty net goal to win that game. Well, you know what? When you play that way, it's like prevent defense. It prevents you from winning. Okay, going into the overtime, the Kings came out strong. They came out fast. I think they did a great job again. So, hey, there's something positive right there. Good regroup in between third period and overtime to come back out and go back out and start putting the gas on again. Okay, regroup, come back. Now you take Evander Kane, who I'm going to say this. I don't know if I should say this or not, but I really feel like the slew foot that he did on Matt Roy in the corner was an absolute garbage play. And I'm really sick of seeing, Braden Point getting run into the boards in the Toronto Tampa Bay series. I'm sick of seeing this guy getting slew footed, slammed into the boards in the corner by Patrick Kane, and guys getting speared in the back of the legs like we saw in game 2 in Edmonton. That's garbage. That's garbage. We want hard hockey. We want playoff hockey. If I'm a fan or if my kid's watching that game, I'm ashamed. I don't want my kids watching that game. That's not the game that I grew up loving. That's a dirty game. Okay. That's dirty. That's what Edmonton's been playing. Now I have to give kudos to, as much as I'm as much as I'm saying McClellan, I'm going on a little bit of a rant here and I'm going to go ahead and close it out. As much as I'm saying McClellan can't close the deal, dude, the guy showed so much composure. I would have been freaking throwing water bottles and sticks, but obviously that's why I'm sitting here and he's sitting there. Okay, so with that being said, hey, it's 2-2. You're going to Edmonton. Now it's a 3-game series, right? It's a 3-game series. So that's my little rant. I would love to hear if you guys have any feedback or thoughts that come to fruition from that.
I've got a little bit actually. Corey, I know you're going to jump in real quick. Being there, actually, I was commenting with the guy next to me. So second period ended, Edmonton had 29 shots until about 5 minutes left when Arvidsson missed that breakaway. The Kings had come back in shots. And the Kings only had 19 at the end of the second. They were down 11. The Kings had overtaken the lead. It was 31-30. So it was an interesting period because I think and maybe it came across on TV a little bit different. It looked to me like the Kings were pressing and doing a good job. The ice seemed tilted toward your guys' seats all night. Like all the action was there. I was on the opposite end of you guys, and it was like everything was going on down there. The only goal that got scored on our end was the Kane goal. But it didn't feel in the building like the Kings were doing dump and chase and just playing prevent. They just happened to have a few breakdowns, really. Some of the notes that I took on it, I thought Doughty actually had one of his worst games in a King sweater, like of all time. The Kane goal, I had some video of it, and unfortunately I'm not near my computer to show it. The guy was at the hash marks. I know the Kings play the 1-3-1, and obviously there's a deep defender in the zone. But when they were crossing for the Kane goal, just for example, he was at his own hash, like in the slot. Kane's at the blue line, obviously. He's onside. Kane gained 50 feet, and Doughty moved about 3. Kane's coming in with all this speed because McDavid dumps it off to the wing, and he comes in basically unchallenged. And it's like, you can't give him that much respect. That was my takeaway from those goals. And then he went and did the exact same thing on the game winner with Hyman. I mean, Doughty was there, and it looked as if on the video like he's playing a 2-on-1. He's in the middle of him and the other Kings defenseman. It was like, what are you doing? Go attack the puck and make a play. It was really frustrating watching that. Also, some of the decision making from Doughty. He left Draisaitl. He had. I kind of rewatched that trip. It looked like he toe picked himself. If you kind of rewatch the slow mo, I don't know if you guys saw it because I thought it was a trip live, and I rewatched some of the highlights on TV, and it looked like he just toe picked himself. McDavid's stick was up around his knee. So that, and then later on the, I think it was the third goal for Edmonton. Doughty goes ahead and he leaves Draisaitl in the slot to go chase Nugent Hopkins, who was like going below the circles. There were just a lot of like questionable reads that were really concerning to me for a player of Doughty's caliber. But yeah, I thought the third period actually was played fairly well. But let me go ahead and let Corey jump in.
Do you think that, quick question on the Doughty take, do you think that's a byproduct of fatigue?
I'm not sure because I did hear his minutes after the game, and they were up there.
I just looked. It was 33.
Yeah. And he was the ice leader, right, for the Kings, I believe.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, it could be. I know, and obviously I'm getting older too. We all are, but it could be. It could be that he's like, hey, I just can't take those extra steps and get beat. But and I'm not sure if it's just the system for him, but it was just real curious because he's obviously got great instincts. He always has since he came in the league. So it was really concerning for me to see him make those reads almost lackadaisically, like, all right, I'm just going to kind of sit here and back off. It was just way too passive.
I think we've talked about that. I think, having a good gap is really important as a defenseman, right? And with a team like Edmonton, who obviously has some guys with some serious speed, right? You don't want to get beat wide, like you said, but I'm almost thinking, man, we do got to gap up a little better. Maybe we do got to stop giving them so much credit. And if you're going to wheel around me wide, well, then let's make you do that. And then we're going to cut down the angle a little bit for Korpisalo. And, small ice down low, you can't really beat them. So it's like make that perfect play. You're going to come down, buzz around, and you're going to cut in, and you're going to have to chip one top cheese off the bar and in. Then so be it. Let's see it. You know what I mean? Let's not let you walk into the circle and rip one using the defender as a screen. We've seen a few goals now get scored on us that way, right? So I'm kind of with you there, Julesy. From an X's and O's standpoint, again, I'd have to give it another look. The entry on that last goal by Kane it seemed like there's a whole lot of attention going to McDavid in the middle. The puck kind of pops off, and then I don't know. The puck was coming on net, and it seemed like Kane had a ton of time and got the shot off. And I thought Korpisalo was sliding to his right a little bit and kind of reaching back on that one. So I'd be curious to hear him talk on what he saw and kind of his read on that. Just from a goaltender standpoint, like you want to be set when you're making saves, right? It's not always going to happen, but ideally in a perfect world, goalies are at their best when they come out, challenge the shooter, get set, and you're making the save set. He wasn't set on that shot with Kane. And so that was tough. And then obviously the OT goal, squeezing through his arm. Anytime as a goaltender, a puck that goes through you is a puck that you want back, right? So I think Josh, you pointed out that I think the Kane goal may have gone off the bar and in. So maybe it just was that perfectly placed shot. But yeah, I agree. We're giving these guys a lot of credit, and I would imagine that their speed is probably dictating that space. So it's definitely a big challenge, especially for Drew Doughty, who is getting a little bit older, like all of us are. So.
Yeah, and real quick, and I don't want to dominate the time, but just from a defenseman's perspective, I'm not sure which one of you guys played D. I know Corey obviously played goalie, but I played a lot of D, and one of the things when I was outsped and outmatched talent-wise quite a bit when we were playing Glacial and D1, right? And one of the things that I really tried to make sure that I was doing, obviously gap control is a big deal, but if I could put somebody on their backhand where they're not going to be as strong and as elite as a player, I was outmatched all the time skill-wise, and so I had to figure out a strategy to make sure that they weren't able to use their best talent against me. And so part of that is taking their forehand away. Even if you're kind of giving them middle of the ice, if you can put them on a backhand, they're just going to ditch the puck. They're not going to be able to fire shots away. And that's almost a little bit of a concern is we've got these guys who are ready to shoot and they're coming in. and we're just backing off. Like, well, go ahead and take the shot if you want to take it. And that, not challenging quick enough it's got to stop if the Kings are going to do anything in the series. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to mention that real quick too.
No, you're right. And just to reflect on Corey's take on the goaltending side, this is the first game in the series we've seen Korpisalo's save percentage drop pretty substantially. 0.88 save percentage, which that's what the Kings were looking to improve. If we're jumping ahead to game 5, you guys know what I'm thinking. I want Copley. I want Copley to get a chance. I want to give the guy an opportunity, is what I'm asking for. And the reason that I'm asking for that is because he's the guy that got you there. If you can't give a guy an opportunity to win a game, hey, and if you don't go with Copley in game 5, if it doesn't work out with Korpisalo, then give the guy game 6. You know what I mean? So just I'm asking, hey, like, plant that seed, have that in your mind. The guy got you there. Give him a chance, give him an opportunity. And there's nothing. Look, and one of the other things that I wanted to make a point of today, I don't know if you can see this beyond basketball, right? I'm not a basketball guy, but this is for success. This is stuff that we talk about for success. And one of the things that I thought about today was the chapter on collective responsibility. We go through, and on this podcast as fans, we're giving a take on each aspect of the team game, right? Starting goaltending, defense to forwards. And then we're taking, hey, who do you think had the best game? But ultimately, it's a collective responsibility. Nobody wins the game and nobody loses the game individually. We win the game and we lose the game as a team. And so, Korpisalo, it's not on him. It's not on Doughty. It's not on Kopitar. It's not on any one person. It's a collective responsibility. And if we keep that mentality, the collective unit is greater. The sum of its parts are greater than any one part itself. I don't think I said that right, but you guys know what I'm saying. That's the mentality that Edmonton doesn't even come close to us on. You know what I mean? Because Edmonton is McDavid and Draisaitl. You know what I mean? And if you take away one of those pieces, that engine collapses. Kings have had a who's next mentality all season long. That's what it's going to take. That's what it takes to win the cup. That's what it took to win the cup in 12. That's what it took to get to the semis, conference finals in 13, and to win the cup again in 14. And just like Jarrett Stoll said, short memory, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to sting in the morning, but hey, look, you're playing again tomorrow night, dude. You're not done. You're not at the golf course yet. You know what I mean? We're still playing hockey. So that's a really good thing for the LA Kings. What do you guys think? Do you think there'll be any lineup changes going into game 5? Corey, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Corey.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I think they're going to roll with the same lineup. In regard to your comment about Korpisalo and Phoenix Copley, it's funny because here we are. We chased their goaltender Skinner out of the net, right? I would say that was huge, right? That's what we were looking to do. I believe Dustin made a 4-1 Kings prediction. And there it was on Soul Park, lining up my birdie putt with the Kings up 3-0, thinking, man, Dustin's got this dialed in. Of course, I leave it just on the edge and lip out for birdie. And then so did Dustin's prediction. So I think we had the right thing going on there. We really did. But we got him out. I would imagine they're going with Jack Campbell. And then from an over-analytic, overthinking mind that I tend to do, and I overthink everything in life down to the most simple thing of, where are we going to go get some food? If you really want to do the Copley thing, I think now is the game, right? For 2 reasons. Give him a chance. Like you said, he's the one that got you there. Maybe 3 reasons. They're going to go to Jack Campbell. Well, let's mix it up. Let's show them something different. And then, if for some reason we lose that game, which we're in their road, in the back of your mind, you can say, well, we're going to go back to Corpy now. And then they got a little excuse built in factor. I don't think anybody really thinks like that. I think maybe I'm just making stuff up. But hey, maybe you could go do it now, and it's a freebie. You know what I mean? Let Copley go steal one. You know what I mean? And then worst case scenario, you go back to Corpy Solo at home because he's been doing great, and you give him a little bit of rest, and maybe fatigue was a little bit of a factor to see his save percentage drop a little bit. So you get him the rest. You give Copley a chance to go in there and say, I am the real deal, and steal one on the road. And maybe just give them a different look, but it's really hard to make that call, and I just don't think that they're going to do it because we've gone through 4 games, right? And I mean, Corpusella has been fantastic.
So do you think Campbell starts for Edmonton next game?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think so.
He looked shaky, to be honest, in the building. I don't know what it looked like on TV, but Campbell did not. The saves he was making were like, how's this guy making these saves?
I hope they start him.
Very shaky.
I hope they do.
So, yeah. Oh, I hope they do. I think the Kings would pick them apart. Real quick, I would say I think that Corpy and Copley are so close in ability. I think that Corpy got the nod because they made the trade. And I think that in some cases, even though you want to ice your best team, I don't know that it was close enough. I don't know that it was that Copley was better than Corpy. And I think they wanted to make sure that they got value out of that trade. And also, you've got Corpy, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent.
Right.
They need to figure out if he's the guy to sign to take him, or if he's not, and then they really ride Copley. And I think, unfortunately, Copley's just kind of, I don't want to say he got the shaft, but I think it was just a numbers game of we need to figure out if Corpy has what it takes to lead this team in goaltending. Otherwise, if he doesn't, I think Copley's going to be the lone standing guy, and he's going to get the full-time share next year. I think the Kings need to figure out if Corpy's worth the money. They're going to have to shell out to keep a guy like that. So I think that's playing into the decision a little bit, unfortunately. Also, real quick on the coaches, McClellan, you mentioned, hasn't won the championship. I thought about this when you were mentioning it and getting back at his old team. And obviously he was the guy that gave us the 3-0 lead. But remember, Daryl Sutter hadn't gotten it done till he came here. And the Sharks were the hurdle that we got over in the first round. So maybe McClellan's got something here. Maybe he can burn the demons against his own team and take us to the promised land. And I think that'd be great.
That would be great. If there's no better time, there's no better situation to do it than to do it right now.
Exactly. I was getting shades of the past when you were saying that story.
That's awesome, man. And I hope he does, because he's a classy guy and he deserves it. You know what I mean? He deserves it. But you got to make it happen. You know what I mean? And I think he can. And totally I'm pulling for him 100%.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I wanted to ask Cor, is it something in Corpy's style, or is it just like an anomaly that they've had several goals coming from his right? So from his blocker side, Costin goal in game 2 coming down that wing, Kane goal, McDavid's 2 goals in game 3 on that side. Draisaitl's I don't count. That's a slot shot. And then obviously Hyman squeaks one through him on that side as well. Is that a weakness that he's showing, or is that, do you have a dominant side as a goaltender when you come out and challenge? Do you like taking shots from one side versus taking shots from the other?
I did, but I was a bender, so it was a lack of ability, I think, for me. But yeah, I think so. For me, I always had like a dominant leg and a dominant side, and there were certain areas I'd like to try to force guys to certain spots. You know what I mean? I wanted them to shoot here. I wanted them to shoot there. My big worry was glove side for him coming into playoffs, and then he didn't make a whole lot of breakaway saves and didn't look great in the shootout before the postseason, but he's actually done pretty good on breakaways. I think just up top, but these guys have been able to take shots inside the dots, they're right inside the circle. We're giving him that space, and I think it goes back to the gap that we're talking about. At the end of the day, it's to quote Josh, dude, these guys are power play merchants. They love power play goals, right?
Yeah,
that's what they're built off of. That's why you could tell the Oilers are bitching and moaning and crying about the refereeing because they got to get their power play goals. So at the end of the day, I think the Kings got to find a way to kill penalties against this team. Your goaltender's supposed to be your best penalty killer when it's working. And yeah, I think they just got to find a way to eliminate some more time and space and maybe get a little bit more aggressive. You know what I mean? I would like to press them a little bit more, make them wheel around you, and let Corpy let him get in tight. If you're in tight, it's hard to put the puck up top when you're in tight, right?
Mhm.
If he's having a weakness up top, well then let's force him to go wide and cut in front and let Corpy do his thing down low. You know, let's take away whatever we could take away, but ultimately, oh no, go ahead.
Sorry, quick question, just before my short-term memory kicks in. The thing you said about, killing some penalties, is there a connection between complaining about calls and not complaining about calls? Is there a correlation? Like, let's say a team like Edmonton, we're complaining about calls. Oh, call. This should be a call. This should be a call. The ref should be calling this. The Kings, nothing. Quiet. Zip. Zilch, right? Not saying anything. Is then the mentality from Edmonton like, make them call it? Go out so hard and make them call it, because it seems like they're daring them to, almost. You know what I mean? We've called you out, we've put you on blast so much. I dare you to make that call. You know what I mean? Is that a thing? Because it seems like the refs were like super quick to make a call on the Kings, and they were super slow to make calls on Edmonton. And I don't want to get into the referee game because that's just another story, but do you think there's a little bit of posturing, a little bit of what would Josh call, when these guys are going after politicians with their agendas? What are those guys called again? Lobbyists? Are they lobbying? Are they just lobbying the refs and putting themselves into a position to just say, I dare you to call it?
Yeah, you know what? I've got some reffing experience. I don't know if anybody else on the board does, but I ref for several years, and I can tell you, even if you want to say it doesn't affect you, you still know it's there. You're still aware of it, so you get the chirps and you hear that they're unhappy with it, and it's not that you're looking to make calls, but you're definitely more aware of, I'm going to get a bunch of crap if I don't make the calls. And so I think just human nature and the style of, if somebody's looking at you looking for something, you're going to look for something a little more carefully. And I think that you're onto something. That can always reverse. You can always get pissed off enough as the one taking all the crap from the team and be like, just forget it. Unless it's just blatant and I have to call it, I'm not going to call it. But these are NHL pro referees. I don't think they're going to take that mentality. I think if anything, they're going to be aware of the complaining. They're going to look for things to call. Now, Fiala's, I agree with. I think that was a totally bogus penalty. I mean, obviously, I'm sitting 300 feet away up with the birds, up in the 300s there, so I can't see everything perfectly. But it didn't look horrible to me, and I only caught the condensed game 9-minute video version, so I didn't see a ton of stuff. But it looked like there was some stuff they were letting go. But I mean, I think you're onto something, right? With if they're aware that the team's unhappy, they're definitely aware and they're looking, because it's an issue. So squeaky wheel gets the grease. I mean, I think that is something to be aware of. I know when I was reffing, it was a concern, but that is part of the gamesmanship within a game within the game, right? Is working the refs for what you can. And Corey was with me in Glacial. I used to work those guys as hard as I can. Dane and I were working those guys nonstop. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. So it really just depends. But I think it is something.
That's awesome.
That's a good point.
And on another note, texting with Skipper. He's definitely going to join us here on King's Corner, which is going to be fantastic. We can't have this show without Skipper. But I saw him on the glass a couple times when at that one call on Fiala, he was banging the glass, dude, just giving it to him.
After it.
You know what I mean? And I remember back in the Staples Center early days, you guys remember this too, but when they first built the arena, the glass that they put in our corner, you know, they had little carve outs for photographers, right? So they had the holes for the photographers to stick their cameras through. Well, you know, we used to give the refs so much crap. And I think it was Paul Stewart, you know, NHL Hall of Fame official, who came over at one point and started talking back to us in the corner. You know what I mean? So to say that those guys aren't human and aren't affected by what you say, I mean, they are for sure. They are for sure. He wasn't the only guy that came and talked back to us through the corner. We had a couple guys come up to us, but thankfully the glass was there. So, how long did those holes last for, Core? Was that like a couple seasons that we had them there?
It was a good amount of time, longer than they probably should have.
Yeah.
Who was the dude with the big nose on San Jose that played
Ricci.
Ricci? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Ricci. Oh man, we used to we'd be like, "Hey buddy, how you doing?"
Oh, that was
and
too
then
good.
Dave Lowry, I think that's when he was playing for Calgary. Dave Lowry is now a coach, or his son's at Winnipeg. Dave's somewhere coaching, and he came over and was like, "You guys really want a piece of me?" And we were like, "No, not really."
Oh, that was the best.
Man, the corner's the best, dude. And the fact I was
yeah.
watching it and watching the TBS broadcast the first period, the Kings were up, and then I turned on Bally's broadcast for the second period. The Kings went down, so I turned it back to TBS for the third. You know, you got to have that good mojo, right? But Enzo was breaking down the goal where Fiala tipped it to Kopitar, and Kopitar had the poise to make that beautiful move and tuck it in. And as he's doing it, dude, it's just freeze frame, and you just see Skipper and Janie and Dallas and Josh and Keith and Claudio, everybody just boom, Kings, LA Kings corner right there. I was like, this is perfect marketing for the podcast right now, dude.
Oh yeah.
Freaking. And then Skipper's buddies with Edzo, you know what I mean? So those guys love to talk horses. So just hey, look, it's been really fun to get on and do these things. I think one thing is for certain, we all love the Kings and we love how it brings people together. And you know, man, I got no ill will against Edmonton. I just wish they played the game maybe a little bit more the right way, and weren't so dirty about it. That's all I'm saying. Because look, these guys are out here for a career. You're not trying to end somebody's career. You know what I mean? Like, play the game the right way and good things. If you want to win the cup, you know, that's the way I recommend it for Edmonton. I think Kings have been really good about it, but stop the bitching, stop the whining, stop trying to be the squeaky wheel. You know what I mean? Just go out there and play hockey. And the Kings, you know what? I think if we get back to this collective responsibility, collectively, we have to do it together. I was a little disappointed. We saw very limited ice time from our 5-6D pair yesterday. I think 9 minutes for Edler, 12 minutes for Dursey, and then our fourth line maybe saw 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that of the entire game. But with that said, I mean, when you look at the stats, our middle group, right? Our second line and our third line is solid. Right now, the top line's a -3, and our bottom line's like -2. Right. So, what do you guys think about that? Who's gonna step up in game 2 from a depth perspective, and can Kopi and Kempe and Byfield bounce back?
Travi, what do you think, bud? Who next game going back to Edmonton, Trav? I don't know, maybe let's focus on that bottom 6. Travi, out of we got it's Fiala, Iafallo, Velarde on the third, and then what do you think the fourth's going to look like?
Shoot, I'm not really sure, but is Nolan? What's his name? Nolan? Is he going to be in lineup again? Because he was
Anderson Dolan,
right? Wasn't he scratch game 3?
No, he was there game 3, but we added in McEwen.
Oh, McEwen then. Okay.
But because Lizotte was out, we had McEwen, and Kaliev wasn't in there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to just see somebody. I did notice Nolan, he did make we put him out there, I think, in overtime, and you could totally see that he had fresh legs compared to everybody else. So if we're going to play these guys 4 or 5 minutes throughout the game, I'd like to see him get a little more in the third, get those fresh legs out there, because after tomorrow they don't play again till Saturday. So you might as well get them, try and run them down now, get them like while they're tired, get some of those fresh legs in there, because then by Saturday everyone's going to be fresh and ready to go.
That's a good point, Trav. So do the Kings go with a short bench tomorrow night, knowing that they have 4 days to recover? Right. Do they go to this routine where they literally just basically played 3 lines and 4.5 defensemen?
Yeah.
It's a good point. Or, I like what you're thinking. Like if you're playing every other night, dude, use the depth. You know what I mean? Right. Use those guys. Mm-hmm. Obviously you can't put them. It's hard to put them out there if they're a liability, though.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to kind of pick your spots, and it's nice being at home. You're able to make that last change and kind of be able to control it a little bit better than you are. So, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. It's going to be tough, but because as soon as we throw those guys out there, you know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to throw,
they're coming out with super line.
Yeah, exactly. So it's tough.
I don't know how you do it, but I want someone to run McDavid. We talk about the refs, and then, you brought up just like kind of like the mentality, excuse me, with the Oilers being a little bit dirty. And you talk about collective accountability, but look at their captain, the poster boy for the NHL. A couple of weeks before playoffs start, when it was pretty much a done deal that the Kings were going to play the Oilers, and Connor McDavid takes a clear shot at Mikey Anderson right in the back, premeditated, and he doesn't get held accountable. He got a 2-minute penalty. That's it. Well, look no further than their leader, right? That's who they are. That's what they do. And they think that they're better than it. They think that they can get away with it. And you can thank the NHL for allowing it, really.
Do you think that this is a byproduct in part of them taking fighting out of the game? Wasn't there much more accountability when, hey, you got to answer the bell if you're going to run around acting like a fool?
Yep. Guys got to be able to police the game themselves. This could go back to, I was texting with Skipper after that hit, and just the fact that we don't have a lot of those guys that can go out there and dictate that, right? We traded Lemieux for McEwen, but I don't see a lot of value in him being out there on the fourth line, just because you got better hockey players than him overall in Kaliev and Jarrett Anderson Dolan. And then he's also got a glass jaw. Apparently he broke his jaw. So that was interesting. He's got great straight line speed though. So he can buzz on a straight line and get in there. And I did see him dump somebody game 3, as much as I was praying I never saw him on the ice after his first couple shifts. And
we got to give the guy a break. And we did.
We did. Understanding. It's hard to do, man. We know that. You sit on the bench, man, get out there, just as Bissonnette. Pretty tough to sit there and open the door all night and then get out there and try to play a hockey shift. You know what I mean? Suck it, Biz. Anyway, Biz is a Kings fan, though, so I'm going to chirp Whitney. Biz is actually pulling for the Kings.
Yeah, I saw that.
I love that.
He played for the Reign. Yeah. He's got a lot of love for these guys. You know what I mean? And he likes the Kings' depth. I think he thinks the Kings got character too. So I don't know. We're just going into predictions for next game.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get our fourth line's best game in limited ice time. We've been begging for it all series so far. Give me a little Kupari, Grunstrom, whoever's on that fourth line. Let's see them just get something stupid to go in. We need that. If we get that, it's only going to make things sweeter for our top unit to get back out there. So let's find a way to get our fourth line on the board in Edmonton. That's my key to the game for tomorrow.
Who's up? Who wants it?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take it. So yeah, I think I was hearing some murmurings that Lizotte may be back in there. I think Lizotte brings a lot more to the table than what meets the eye, especially from outside the club. Watching that guy game in and game out, he brings energy that nobody else brings. And I think he's that leader that's not like the recognized leader, but his play on the ice is always go, 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 go. And he brings physicality, even though he's small. And he brings just pesty in your face, but never crossing the line and taking penalties. And that's actually, and we talked about the penalties and the penalty kill, and the struggles that we have with Edmonton's power play. That's one of the concerns that I have. That was in my game notes as well. Is we're taking penalties and we're not stopping scoring chances with the penalties we're taking. The Kings have to be much more aware of how lethal, even though they know it's lethal, it's like they're just kind of lackadaisical. The penalties they've taken were not good penalties stopping scoring chances. And so, that's one of the things that I think Lizotte brings is that pesty in your face style of play without crossing the line or even coming close to a penalty usually. And I think the Kings need a little bit more of that. Perhaps if he's in the lineup, he can be that spark plug that'll get him going. But I mean, you look at, when Corey was just rattling off the names of the third line with Fiala, Velarde, and who's the other one?
I follow.
And I follow. I'm like sitting there like, that's the second line. Wait a minute, that is the third line. Like the Kings are so deep. Like what a great team that's forming here in terms of depth. I mean, I think the Kings are a much better team than Edmonton is. Like you said, they've got the two real big stars, Draisaitl and McDavid. They've got some role players too, but as a team, the Kings are just so solid throughout. But yeah, I think you plug Lizotte back in on the fourth line with Dolan. I was surprised to see Kaliev out. That in a series that you figure you're going to need some goals, how do you pull that guy out of the lineup and sit him? But you also need physicality, so I can see reasons to put other guys in there. But man, Kaliev, he's lethal, and he gives you a second power play option. I'd like to see that as the fourth line. I'd like those guys to get going. I think that gives you the best shot at getting the fourth line a goal. But it's tough because McDavid and Draisaitl hardly ever leave the ice, and when they do, you got Kane, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman. You got skill guys that can carry the play. So, but the Kings they just have to stay out of the box. They just cannot commit penalties unless they're stopping a scoring chance. That has to be the commitment from the team.
Hey, Joel, I want to follow up on that real quick because I do think that like this year and maybe it was a little bit last year, the best we did see our fourth line when actually Lizotte was centering that line. We saw Lizotte, Kaliev, Kupari on that line, and we want that depth to kind of trickle down, right? Lizotte was playing third line minutes and giving us great minutes on that third line. If we can get him dropped down to that fourth line, and maybe you take Anderson Dolan out, which I love that guy too. I think he's been a really good guy who can come in and out of the lineup and give you some valuable time while he's out there. But if we can get Kupari, Lizotte, and Kaliev on that fourth line, I like that a lot. You know what I mean? And I think Lizotte could be that pest on that line, and just keep that drive going. And we got Grundstrom
yeah, you're right.
too, though. Yeah, I mean
Grundstrom. I forgot about Kupari and Grundstrom.
We
I love
got to
both
find a
of those
way
guys.
to get those guys. Just someone on that fourth line has got to go. We got to get them going.
Yep,
that's a hard thing to ask for with the limited ice time, Rye.
Yeah, I think if even if Lizotte is not 100%, but if he's good to go, if he can get in the lineup and play 5-6 minutes in the fourth line center and just solidify the middle, and then put Kupari on the wing with Grundstrom on the other wing, I think that gives you stability in the D zone if you do get caught out there, because Edmonton's fourth line played really good. They had McLeod. I think they had Derek Ryan, who's a Spokane guy. They were buzzing, dude. You know what I mean? Their fourth line looked really good. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, holy shit, like these guys have been more effective than their top line guys have. And that's what you need in order to have sustained pressure. You need to know, your top guys need to know that when you pass the baton, to the next guy going on the ice, that they're going to be able to maintain that momentum that you've generated and not have to start from scratch again, and can build up momentum, hand the baton. Oh shit, we're back now. You know what I mean? So it's this continuous cycle of, and granted, there are the ebbs and flows. I love looking at the statistics, and you can see the game flow chart on, the NHL.com. That's pretty cool to see who's kind of ebbing and flowing. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're only going to go 6 minutes and Lizzo can go, I love what you said, Jewel, and the fact that he is kind of one of those leaders by example sort of guys, undrafted, out of college, you know what I mean, undersized. You guys had to earn it every step of the way. That's the type of guy you want to line up in the playoffs. So if you can put him in that fourth line center, then you're going to free up Kapari to maybe use his legs and get some speed on the outside. You know what I mean? And get Grunstrom working down low. And then those guys can chew up 4, 5, 6 minutes in the offensive zone instead of getting hemmed in defensively.
Yep.
And I love the psychology of that because I feel like McClellan is going to feel a little bit more secure throwing Lizotte over the boards than he does about Kapari right now.
Yep. Well, and like you said too, how great it is for the first line to hand off the shift to the fourth line that's going to plug away. I think even better is when the fourth line hands off a shift to the first line and that's ready to go. I think that helps even more, right? Because now you've already worn down the D, and you talk about, and I've seen Lizotte, and I've seen our fourth line do it before, where you're able to make a change while you're keeping possession in the offensive zone. The Kings need something like that. I mean, not that they're desperation for offense. I think defense is going to be the key to this series, but how great would it be for that fourth line to plug away, make the change, turn it over to the first or second or even third line that, they all operate like the first liners.
Yeah.
You know, hand off a great shift to those guys and let them go to work. I mean, I think that would be really the key. And I think you're kind of right. Right now, we don't have a lot of that with the fourth line in the last few games, and that could be, a little bit of the struggles to get things going or sustain pressure.
As I know this is like X's and O's type stuff, and probably don't need to talk about this on this podcast, but two of the goals last night and just in general, zone entry. It seems like it's so easy for Edmonton, and on our power play and even 5-on-5 zone entry seems so hard for LA right now. That 1-3-1 is something that McClellan's known for. But it's driving me bonkers when there's a guy who can put pressure on the puck carrier and he literally just curls back. And then that goal against an overtime, we had a guy there to put pressure on. He curls back. Bouchard hits Hyman with a stretch because our 1-3-1 isn't intact. It's expanded, right? And if you can withdraw that 1-3-1, then there's a ton of holes there. I want to see confidence that they can, you know what I mean, put pressure on and believe that they can do it. But I mean, maybe if the system is, don't chase, stay back, let them come to you because they don't want to let Edmonton counter strike. Do you think that's what it is? They just are trying to prevent that, like Edmonton's rush offense from really getting going?
I think so. Right. I think they want to try to stack the neutral. They want to make the Oilers kind of be forced to dump the puck in and go get it, right? Opposed to come in with possession. But like you said, when you're not executing it the right way and they're making those stretch passes through the holes, I mean, then it does almost turn to instant offense, right? Like now you're in a gap. You just took, I mean, from the D zone up to the offensive blue, and now you got tons of ice. You know what I mean? And then you got guys trying to play catch up and kind of scramble to get back into position.
So hard, dude. I love getting a full head of steam, crossing over, getting a full head of steam like McDavid, getting guys flat-footed through the neutral zone. There's no way you can get angles on guys that way. You know what I mean? Let alone a guy like McDavid with the best hands in the freaking world.
Yep. Yeah. Watching from the top. Oh, sorry, Corey, didn't mean to cut you off. But watching from the top, you could really see it. And exactly what you're talking about. It gives them so many lanes to pass through. It gives them so much speed. It gives them, and by the time they're encountering pressure, the Kings are all flat-footed. And McDavid, with the edge work that guy's got, I mean, you can put that guy through some pylons. He's just going to edge his way through it. So this might be the wrong team to do this against. I know they're trying to clog it up and make the entries hard, but it's having the opposite effect. So it's a really good notation that you're seeing that, because from the top it was pretty obvious. Like, okay, he's getting ahead of steam. There's nobody within 100 feet of him, and there he goes. Now he's on his edges. He's into the zone, and now we're on big time defense. And it's like, yikes! Like, we might be better off just, and I forget what type of defense it's called, but just have somebody stick to McDavid That guy goes deep in the zone behind his net, and we're on defense. Just go trail with him.
Shadow
Just
him.
stay in
Yeah.
front of him, battle him, make a problem for him to get speed up. Because I think that's the guy that creates the offense through the speed. Drysdale's not the speedster; he's the sniper. But McDavid carries the puck and just starts to generate off it. That's a good thing that you noticed, though.
Yeah, and I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I hate pointing out, being the guy who's pointing out an issue and doesn't have a solution. But
I got one. Run that fucker through the boards somehow. I just don't
Yeah.
know how you get him.
There you go. That'll slow him down.
Canceled podcast.
Here's
He
what I
said the
want.
F-word.
Here's what I want. I want that guy coming in on a breakaway, and whoever's in net, just a Rob Stauber 2-pad stack that LF right in the legs, dude, and knock him out. Sorry,
All
guys.
right. Let's close it out. Game predictions, game 5. Game 5. Hey, it's a new day. Series is tied. Now we're in a best of 3 series. Okay, best of 3. And if the pattern keeps going, we're slated to win the next game. I'll start with Travis. Why don't you go ahead and give me your predictions for game 5?
My prediction, game 5. I think if it's Campbell and Copley starting, we might see a high scoring affair again. Another like 6-5 or 6-4 type game. But I'm thinking Kings are going to come out on top 6-4 with the empty netter at the end.
Love it.
Yeah. Feeling good about it.
I love it. That's awesome. That's an emotional roller coaster for Canadians too, and I love that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Julesy, what do you think, man? Where you at?
All right, so gap control and challenge. Those are the keys for the Kings. If they can control the gaps and they can challenge the Edmonton Oilers offensively and slow them down, I think that's going to change the game. I think that a game like they just had is that kind of come to Jesus moment where they're like, we can't just sit back on these guys. We have to go play hockey. So that in mind, Kings 4-1. They figure out the system. They come out strong. They hold the lead and figure out the defense, which I think they've been looking to do. I think seeing what they saw last night shows them what they need to do now. Kings 4-1, coming back home for a game 6. I think they're going to take it, and they're going to destroy everybody's brackets.
I love that. And the one thing I want to add to that, Julesy, is I want to X out the hold the lead, and I want to put nail in the coffin.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, finish them off. Yep,
Absolutely.
I'm with you. I am with you right there.
All right, brother. Core Dog, where are you at, man?
Well, I think that it's going to be a tough game. I'd be curious. I think that ultimately, to just since Josh isn't here, talk for Josh a little bit. Like, okay, it's over, right? Like, you guys got your gift from the refs. Like, we're it's a moot point at this point. You got what you wanted. You got the calls. We're just going to go play hockey now. But having said that, my prediction is that after this game, we will be seeing Edmonton chuck beer bottles on the ice again because the Kings will be winning this hockey game. And I'm going 4-3 LA Kings in overtime again.
Another OT game.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, I think the mindset for me in wherever we go, in whatever comes your way, in whatever ebbs and flows or whatever obstacles are there, it's just a collective responsibility. And I think the united nature and just the ability for the Kings to collectively regroup and come out like they did in the third period, and they came out strong in overtime. I expect that again, strong start. So I'd like to see the Kings get out and pop that first goal, and be able to hold them. And I want to, at some point, I don't know what you guys think about this. Maybe talk about this at another time because we're just closing up. But I almost want them to challenge the refs to make a call, and I want them to like go so hard that hey, call it. You know what I mean? When we beat Vancouver in 2012, it was the year of the shorthanded goal. Why are we not trying to score shorthanded goals? You know what I mean? If they're all offense, that means they're vulnerable. And sometimes the best defense is offense, right? So turn it around on that penalty kill, and stop thinking so much about defending and start thinking about taking advantage of them. I think the Kings are going to win it. I think they're going to win it 4-1. I think, you know, they're going to play a solid game and bounce back, heading back into LA to close it out like they did last year. What a great episode, guys. Hey, you know what? We're turning lemons into lemonade here. Tough loss, but it was a pleasure connecting with you guys tonight. We're going to get this posted. We're going to get this out. We need to get this shared. Go to our Instagram page at LA Kings Corner. You can go to our Twitter at LA Kings Corner. And obviously, if you want to reach out to us and connect with us and get on the podcast, we'd be happy to hear from Kings fans, especially all those who know us and have been in LA Kings Corner. Send us an email. The email is lakingscorner@gmail.com. And this podcast is for the fans. It's by the fans. We want to be able to take this thing and grow it to a point where we can have fans joining us in the most epic spot to watch a Kings game ever, LA Kings Corner. Thanks, guys, for hopping on tonight. Peace out.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's go.